Welcome to Guiding Guide. In this video, we will be covering 5 topics that you need to prepare to crack any software development engineering interview. So let's go into the video. So in this video, I'll be covering mainly the motivation and why I am relevant to make this video. Second is the breakup of the each interview rounds that company used to take for software engineering roles. And third is the 5 key topics that you need to prepare to crack the interview. Okay. So basically the motivation behind this video is so there are many students that find it difficult to find the uh, key topics to prepare for the interviews, what are the good resources, and how much prepared they should be before they can start their interview process, and what should be the end state and how much prepared they should be to crack these interviews. So now, why I am relevant to make this video? So basically, I have the past experience of working as a software development engineer at Samsung Research Institute as well as Amazon India, and where I used to take the interviews for the SD1 roles as well. So I believe I have the decent or pretty much fair experience to make this top make this kind of video and to help you guys out there in cracking your interviews. Okay, so now let's deep dive into the what are the various uh, interview rounds and how they are divided into the each topics that I have mainly be covering in this video. So usually each company have 3 to 5 interview rounds, which mainly focuses on these below mentioned topics. So these are the 5 key topics that you should be prepared for to crack these interviews. So first is the algorithm and data structures. Computer fundamental itself contains 3 topics: operating system, DBMS, and OOPS. Third is the past experience. Basically, the what kind of experience or project that you have been done if you are fresher, and if you are in the intermediate level, what are the past roles that you have been working for. And last one is the behavioral questions. So for sake of this video, I'll be mainly focusing on the first 3 topics, and I'll left the behavioral questions because I feel like for fresher, these are not the relevant question, and for intermediate uh, interviewee, it will be pretty much relevant or basically related to your past experience, past roles that you are working for. Then for the sake of this video, I'll not be touch this one, but I'll be deep dive into the above 3 topics. So let's start with the algorithm and data structure first. So 5 topics to crack the any SDE interviews. So first is the algorithm and data structure. So basically all of these topics I have been mainly covering in the 3 sections. First is the reason why companies choose these specific topics to judge you if you are suitable for the role or not. Second is the resources from where you should prepare for these specific topics, and what is the end state. So end state display represent what how much you should be prepared at the end uh, of your preparation cycle. So once you go through the all the resources and you have been prepared for the specific topic, so how much knowledge you should have. And so basically this is a metric through which you can judge how are you uh, basically comfortable in this topic or not, and if you have the enough knowledge for this topic to crack the interview or not. Okay, so basically to have the algorithm and data structure in the interview rounds is basically fits best to your day-to-day work, because at the company's it's the ST1 level or the intermediate level, your main role is to maintain and implement the code bases. So algorithm and data structure judge your that ability if you can write the good code or not. So resources, I think if you are in the first or second year of your graduation, I think you can start with the competitive programming, and then you can move on to the lead code platform. And if you are already in your final year, I would say you can directly start with the lead code as well. As well as while solving the lead code problems, you should write the hobby, or I would say the practice the skill, uh, such that you can write the correct code on paper as well. That if you have written the code on paper and if you write the exact code on the compiler, it should be compiled and it should provide the exact results that you want to achieve. And once you prepare enough problems, so basically, if you started with the competitive programming, I would say you can move on to the lead code one after solving 10 to 20 problems at least. And if you are in your final year, then you can directly start with the lead code as well. Then you can move on to the interview bit. So basically, the both lead code and interview bit provides the previous past problems of the interview. So basically, the past problem that companies used to ask in their interview. So these are the questions that lead code and interview bit provide. So the cherry on the cake with interview bit is it also provides you the average time that individual has taken to solve this particular problem. So if you solve the problem in that particular time, then you get the more points. Otherwise, your points start to decrease. And it also have the rigorous checks based on the time complexity as well as the memory management as well. So, interview bit is one step higher, if I would say, in close to the interview environment. Then, before your actual interview, I would suggest that you should have at least one mock interview done with your peer, or you can use the interview bit platform as well to schedule your mock interview. So at the end of your preparation, you should be able to solve easy to medium lead code problems within 30 minutes. So including the approach as well as the implementation in any OOP language that you find yourself familiar with or comfortable with. Okay, so let's move to the second key topic, that is the object-oriented programming, which is a part of the computer fundamentals. Reason. So you should be already familiar that organization has pretty complex code bases, and OOP concepts are very much helpful in maintaining the code bases and reuse the existing structures as well. So that's why OOP is pretty much standard as well as the key topic to prepare for the interviews as well. Now, coming to the resources, so I would suggest to go with the college curriculum as well. And if you want to prepare specifically for the interview, I would suggest go to the Geeks for Geeks and open the OOP preparation section, and you will find the uh, great articles on it that will cover the entire thing as well. Now, at the end of your preparation cycle, you should be familiar with the OOP concepts like inheritance, abstraction, polymorphism, constructors, how destructors call, and apart from the theoretical knowledge, you should have the decent knowledge how you can implement these concepts through any OOP language like C++, Java, or any other language that you like. And the optional, I'm marking it as optional for the beginners roles. For example, SD1 role, most companies do not bother to ask you this, but if you have this knowledge, it will be definitely a cherry on the cake. So I have marked it as the extended goal. That can be to have the basic knowledge of the low-level design principles like single responsibility principle and the basic design patterns like adapter, uh, abstract factory method, uh, etc. So so these are the things that you need to cover for the object-oriented programming. Now, third is the operating system. That is also a part of the computer fundamentals. So reason to have this is simple. So So basically, companies and the applications are doing so many stuff. For example, if in your phone, in your smartphone, you have many applications. So if any application takes more time to work, then you simply start uh, uninstall those apps because it simply you don't want to spend so much time in those application if they are stuck in here and there every time you want to uh, use that particular app. Or for example, if you want to send mail to someone, if Gmail start taking 1 day to deliver your mail to someone, then you probably start using another mailing service, right? So that's why the performance is the must for the organizations. So basically, to improve the performance of applications or services, we need to use concepts of the operating system like multi-threading, multi-processing, memory management, semaphores, etc. Now, resources, I would again suggest to go with your college curriculum first. Then I would strongly recommend to read the book written by Galvin. I don't know, I'm not remembering the actual name, but if you call Galvin, that's the easy identifier to have this book. Basically, it is commonly known as the Galvin book. And at the last, you can go to the Geeks for Geeks section. So again, Geeks for Geeks have the pretty much great sections on the operating system from the understanding point of view as well as for the specific for the interview questions point of view as well. And at the end of your preparation cycle, you should be familiar with the concepts like multiprocessing, multi-threading, memory management, semaphores. And if you are familiar with this topic from the theoretical point of view only, then it should be enough. You should not be try to basically implement all these concepts through some kind of language. So for operating system, you should be familiar with these topics. So if then it should be enough for this particular key topic. Now the next key topic is the DBMS, that is again the part of the computer fundamentals. So reason to have this is to basically to store any data persistently, applications and services need database. For example, if you I'm taking again example of the Gmail. So let's suppose you receive a mail from the XYZ person and you have read it. Now, after few months, you again want to look at that particular mail. Now, suppose that though that mail has been deleted by Gmail, so you probably be asked, not want to use that particular service, right? Because you expect to have the Gmail to store that particular mail uh, pretty much the whole time. You can access it anytime, right? So basically, to store those data for the longer time, that is the persistence, right? So to store data persistently, application and services need to use database because uh, whenever you use any application, then for that particular moment, your data has been stored in the RAM only, right? But RAM is not the persistent one, right? So you need to use the database. And to store and manage that database conveniently, we use the database management system, right? So the full form itself is saying database management system, right? So now coming to the resources, I would again suggest to go with the college curriculum first, then look for the specific topics on the Geeks for Geeks. Again, Geeks for Geeks has the specific section for the DBMS as well as from the understanding point of view, as well as for uh, past interview questions as well. And at the end of the preparation for DBMS, you should be familiar with the key topics like types of DBMS, usage of different types of keys, serialization, etc. So, in the first part, if you are familiar with these topics from the theoretical point of view, it should be enough. And for the second part, I would say if you have the familiarity with any DBMS uh, software like SQL or the NoSQL, MongoDB, etc., then that will again uh, be kind of the cherry on the cake, I would say. So it will be helpful if you have the knowledge of any existing DBMS, and it will help you in your projects as well if you have the knowledge of any existing DBMS. So, so these are the things that you need to cover for the DBMS section. Okay, so now moving on to the last one is your projects. So basically, projects are the key things to show your past experience. So basically, before the projects, we have discussed the four things, right? Data structures and algorithms, OOPS, operating system, and database management system. So projects is the uh, key thing to reflect that you know how these past how these four things works together to build anything working, right? So that's why the projects are there to reflect that you know how to put all these things together to build something that can actually work. So, from the resources point of view, it is quite up to you, and based on your choices, there are various good resources available on YouTube, Geeks for Geeks, college community. You can create or build projects with your classmates, with your peers. So, it is totally up to you how you want to build the projects and how you are comfortable building it. If you are comfortable in building it alone, I would say it is also nice. You would have the understanding of all the key things along with yourself. But if you build it with your peers, then you have the pretty much more motivation to build anything. So it is quite up to you based on your comfortability. Now, at the end of the building projects, I would suggest you should have the two projects in your resume on which you can explain what you have done and why you have done certain things in that specific manner. For example, if you have used any DB to store the data, then you should be knowing why you have used that particular DBMS, why not the others. And some of the behavioral question that interviewer might come up is the what was the most challenging part that you have felt in the project? What are some key learning from this project? So these are the question that you can expect on the project section from the interviewer. So at this point, we have covered all the five topics that you need to really be covered to crack any software engineering interview. So let me repeat this. So algorithm and data structure is your first target to crack, right? Because for the SD1 roles, for the freshers role, the interviewer mostly focuses on the algorithm and data structure uh, interview rounds. I would let's break it into the percentage as well, how much focus the interviewer gives on each specific topics. So for algorithm and data structure, I would suggest for the SDE1 role, 70 to 80% of the time, the decision to select the candidate and to not select the candidate is entirely based on their performance in the algorithm and data structure round. Then comes the computer fundamentals round that if so basically if you perform good uh, in the algorithm and data structure round, then your chances to be select are pretty much high. Okay, let's also cover how much focus the interviewer gives on each of the topics from the selection point of view. So for algorithm and data structures, I would say it is must to perform good in the algorithm and data structure interviews round. For computer and fundamentals, if you have been performed decent enough, then you can basically crack that particular interview. You should not be performed uh, reasonably bad in the computer fundamentals round, then only your selection can be hampered from the computer fundamentals round. Otherwise, interviewer used to ignore if you have missed some here and there answers, but they are mainly focuses on the algorithm and data structure round. And same goes for the past experience and the behavioral questions. So if you have the good performance in the computer fundamental, past experience, and behavioral questions, then let's take the scenario. If you are the only good candidate that the organization have to select, then they will probably judge your rounds mainly on the algorithm and data structures basis. So if you have worked reasonably well for algorithm and data structure, then they will definitely select you for for that particular role. I would say you have to be really focused. 80% of your focus should be on the algorithm and data structures round, and rest 20% of the cases you can allot 10% to computer fundamentals and 10% to past experience. So this will be the 80-10-10 will be the breakup from the focus point of view from the interviewer side. Okay, so that's it in this video. So these are the 5 topics that you should be really prepare well to crack any SDE interview. So let's prepare now as you now know the topics as well. So thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to my channel Guiding Guide and tuned in for the upcoming videos on these topics. Thank you.